So I want to talk a little bit about a revelation that God gave me as a key a few weeks ago in this time of seeking the Lord about this project and preparing for what was his purpose in it, what was his assignment in this. We were meditating on Revelation 21:6. It's Jesus talking, and he said to me, well, actually it's John talking, and he said to me, "It is finished. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, and I will give freely to him who thirsts of the fountain of the spring of life without cost. He who overcomes will inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he will be my son." In the meditation on this water of the fountain of life, it's a reservoir. It's a reservoir of water hidden in the ground that opens up and it gushes forth of this living water. The currency is thirst, this place of drinking freely if you have the thirst for it. That already touched me because 6 years ago, God said, "I'm giving you an assignment with the Celtic wellspring." So already there's that connection of this reservoir of water in the ground to be found.
That's good. It's really good.
So then on top of that, my friend Nora discovered in the midst of our study and meditation that this word fountain is connected in the original language to the word tent. As soon as she said that, I was blown away and I immediately subbed out that word. "I've given you an assignment with the Celtic tent." And that just stirred my heart because I already knew that this project and this storyline told over time with Israel and the British Isles, Appalachia, it had to do with this underlying story of that tabernacle of David. And here we are in this time of feeling the anticipation. God said, "I will raise up the fallen tent of David in the last days." So here we are with this dual expression of this spring coming up from the ground and this house being built. And I'm becoming more and more convicted all the time that this is what this project is about, that the Lord is saying, "I am building my house." And he's giving the call to partner with him in the building of his house. And as I was talking with Mandy about that, she was sharing with me some of what's been happening with their house of prayer in London. And I just wanted her to share a little bit about that because to me it just even revealed the timing that we're in and that divine strategy of the Lord and partnership to truly build his house according to the Spirit. So go ahead and share a little bit of that.
Sure. So around about June this year, we invited Mary and Deborah Hibbert from the International House of Prayer to come for our London's Burning Conference, which is a conference we have every year. And we didn't know what God had in store. We were excited. On the night of the conference, round about, I think just before we finished, we basically got a word from the police that no one could leave the building and that there'd been an incident that had happened. And some of you may have heard of this incident. It was actually the attacks at London Bridge. And so we couldn't leave. But in that moment, I remember reflecting on what had happened during the day. And Mary and Deborah had come. They had actually done training on the Tabernacle of David. They had done training on worship 24/7, the heart of day and night prayer, and they basically had imparted something, and it almost felt like there was an accelerated training for those who had never known anything like that, and God wanted to put us all on the same page before this happened. And what stood out as well was he basically was very selective. He was very sensitive in his selection because mothers with babies were released. They were able to leave. People who had families and so forth. But we stayed in that night, and we soon realized it was a setup. It was a God setup. This incident had happened a few yards from where we're at, and we worshipped all night. It was just worship and intercession all night. And I felt like God had invited us into this place of partnering with him in the house of prayer to begin to contend for a nation, to begin to contend for the city of London. And we thought we would leave after 2 hours. There was none of that. We were there all night. And so I felt it was a real strategic positioning in the house of prayer. And it was a house of refuge as well, because those who had been attacked, we had a few people who had witnessed the attacks, and they were traumatized, and they were able to come into the house of prayer. So it wasn't just prayer and worship, was refuge. And so that meant a lot for us. But shortly after that, I think I told you that we were asked to leave the place where we met. And we were told that our contract was not being renewed. And we felt that we had touched on something that had violated the enemy's camp. And you know, we left, but we're in a season right now in which God is revealing, giving us this revelation of the house, and he's talking to us being a mobile house, a portable tabernacle, just like the Moses tabernacle. That was a portable tabernacle, and so he's doing this work in the temple of our bodies, and it's no longer about external buildings. And we believe God's going to give us a building, but in this season he is forming something in our hearts that's really defining the true meaning of what a house is, where he can inhabit, and he can really engage with us in that place.
Amen. That's great.
Yeah.
And I just want to share one more thing that I forgot to mention earlier. When Nora and I were talking about this understanding of the tent and the spring existing in the same paradigm, what really came forth is this understanding that there's this corporate bride throughout all of human history that God is raising up. And during these other time periods, that bride has just as much stake in the end time story as we do now. At the end of the age, it's a full bride of all generations being presented before him. So throughout time, you have this partnership of the Lord and the church taking place, and there's these times when the church began to touch and interact with the things of heaven, when there was a kairos crossing between the eternal time and the chronos time taking place, reaching beyond their time into the eternal storyline of heaven. So that eternal storyline coming and partnering in the heart of the bride in that generation, these deposits of inheritance being placed in the ground for a future time called the end times, when it would be unlocked to be added to the fullness of all times, and that resource of what God is doing to bring forth a mature bride that will be able to face the Antichrist and stand victorious at the end of the age. So I believe that God is stirring the hearts of people right now to partner once again with eternal time and see those keys that are meant to unlock the ground again and bring forth the inheritance of the fathers and mothers of our generations, and see that partnership take place in the spirit, and that full resource being brought forth as God works together with the full bride. Wow. So I believe that even what Mandy shared is touching on some of that. And as I journey throughout the UK, I believe that it is the heart of the Lord to begin to touch those wells and see what he's going to bring forth in that partnership of heaven and earth being brought together.
Wow. Yes. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.